Hello and welcome to a very special stream indeed. It is the mapping contest winners announcement and celebration stream. I'm GMT, and joining me to begin proceedings are two wonderful, lovely gentlemen to, I believe, is it my left or my right? Who knows? It's Napalm, 3 Dimensions, and FaZe. How you doing, buddy?
Hey.
Doing good. How about yourself?
Not bad at all. It's been a bit hectic putting the stream together, as I'm sure you guys are both aware, but we're here and it's quite a tremendous day. So the mapping contest announced, I want to say a couple of months ago at this point, $30,000, 3 categories, those being race, team modes, and duel. And we've got our winners now. Nate, you've been here since the beginning, of course, integral to the process, a judge. How do you feel about the mapping contest?
I think as a whole, it was a blast. I'm really shocked by all the people that showed up and all the work they did. It was really, really fun, actually. Yeah.
And we do have some really impressive maps. You know, of course, Diabotical has had lots of great maps made in the past, but now that it's open to the community, the sheer number of submissions was fantastic. The quality of them as well. FaZe, of course, we can't name the winners yet, but what caught your eye? What surprised you in terms of the mapping contest?
The one thing that surprised me probably the most, at the beginning I thought that there might be a blowout of art happening in a lot of the maps, but a lot of people opted out for the simplicity, and I'm slowly starting to believe that perhaps it was better for them to go for the simplicity. Essentially, a lot of the art that came through was very eye-pleasing, and it wasn't too much in your face, so that you could also focus on gameplay. So it's like a combination of both gameplay and art, which I thought was great.
Yeah, Arena FPS always trying to strike that balance between visibility and eye candy, right? And it's a difficult one to strike. I think the Diabotical engine, or rather the assets in the game, lend themselves well to that. Of course, you've got very high contrast models, but it is something that needs to be considered. Nate, I'm wondering, what do you think makes a great map? What gives a map sustainability, and what were the criteria basically that you used to judge these maps?
There was 4 major categories. There was gameplay and fun factor, which I think is the most important, and we lean the most amount of points into that because of it. And the more fun the map is, and the more visually pleasing to the eye and less like fatiguing, the longer the map will stay around. People will find new depth even in a cardboard box. So those 2 main factors I think are the biggest. I think a lot of the contestants actually delivered in those regards, like really well. It was really well.
Well, it's hard as well, right? Because Arena FPS, such a storied genre, has been around for such a long time. Mapping is it's a huge part of every Arena FPS game, and of course Diabotical is no different. But coming up with something original, that's really difficult at this point.
Really difficult, and I think finding that originality in your art, and not only making it look good but play really well. So your art isn't interfering with the gameplay. You're not, crazy rocket collisions or anything like that. Art should be as pretty as possible while keeping gameplay in mind. Very much so.
Absolutely. And well, I think we'll be very happy to see the winners. Of course, I'm sure they're all waiting nervously for the announcement, but I think we should talk a little bit more about the process. I mean, I said 2 months. I'm not exactly sure. How long have we been doing this, Nate?
I think it's 3 months now at this point, just about. Yeah. Just about.
With all the internal testing, the feedback given, the maps have obviously changed a lot over that time as well, and you've both been involved in that process. In terms of, I'm trying to think, like in terms of feedback, what was the one you had to give most often? And to be a little bit negative for a moment, what were people missing out on more often than not?
At the start, so the first 2 months we did the initial heat, and in that time, a lot of it came down to the maps being very ring around the rosy. So like the top part of the map would have a big ring and you just run it in circles. So that became a pretty big issue with the flow. But other than that, it was actually a battle with the spawn system. finding spawns that worked, make sure you couldn't force spawn people repeatedly. That was the biggest thing. And I think Febrez's app he made to help with that really helped the entire community.
Yeah, it is quite a common sort of cliche, and as we were saying, it's really hard to break away from it. FaZe, you've play tested a lot of the maps. I think one of the things we have to point out is a lot of the maps that didn't win, still a lot of value there. And I'm wondering, do you think there are any maps that maybe don't live up to their potential just yet, but we might see in the future? Is that something that we should be considering?
Can't answer whether you're going to see them for the future, because that's not my decision ultimately. Sure. But what I can say is that every single map that has made into top 10 has the base laid out properly. And as soon as you build up off that base, I think a lot of good maps can become either official or non-official that are being played on custom servers, because they all have potential. And it's not like it's been very close, like surprisingly close, with a lot of maps that didn't make to top 5 but were extremely close by 1 to 2 points. So that speaks for itself.
Right, so we are about to get on with the actual awards ceremony, but again, I'm just going to give a brief overview of what this competition was. $30,000, $10,000 for each category. The winner receives a total of $4,000. Second, $2,750, $1,500 for third, $750 for fourth, $500 for fifth, and then there are the two Joker categories: most creative and best use of theme. They get $250 each. And that prize structure goes to race, team mode, and duel, respectively. And yeah, so we're going to be looking at, I think, 7 maps of each total in the winners, and we'll also then be playing a very exciting show match on 2 of the winning team maps, and then 3 dual maps with Firebot and Scoochie. But before that, it is all about the race. It's all about the racers. And I'm wondering if we should watch the race video and find out our winners. Thank you, Nate and FaZe. We'll be back with them in just a bit. believe, a judge and quite involved in the racing community. I'm unmuted now. All right, hello. And welcome to the racing segment. I am joined by racing judge Pooney. How you doing today, bud?
Good. How are you, buddy?
I'm not bad at all. Thank you very much. So racing is something I've recently taken up myself. I've obviously been aware of it in other Arena FPS games, the granddaddy of them all being Defrag, but this is sort of my first foray, and so I'm actually quite excited about this category, whereas I wouldn't have been a little while ago. Give me a brief overview of what you're looking for in a really strong race map.
So I think a really strong race map, there's very different categories, right? Because you could have a strafe-only map, you could have a slick map, you could have a weapons map, and there's so many different factors that are packed into each one of those. So it's quite difficult on mappers and I guess judges to some extent as well, because there's so much ground to cover. Primarily, I would say a great map is something that caters to both a really good player and a really new player and sets a really good challenge for both of them. Something that has good skill level progression, so it's not annoying to grind the map over and over. And a bunch of other various things, of course.
Yeah, so we just watched the video, the VT showing us the winners. Toxic in first place, Roosh second, Oasis third, Boost, Cave Run, and then Cave Run also won Best Theme, and Egg Putt won Most Creative. We're going to have some races in just a second on the top 3 finishers, but let's talk about the entries rounding off the list. Let's talk about Egg Putt, first of all, winner of Most Creative. Talk to me about that one, Pooney. It's an interesting one, right?
It's quite an interesting map. The concept of it was so different from all the other maps that it really stood out. The whole concept of like a mini little golf course, you have a little flag that you touch when you go into the hole that teleports you to the next one. Just overall, I think it was a really well thought out concept. I just wish it was taken a bit further to the next level.
Right. And then for both 5th place and Best Theme, we've got Cave Run, which, I mean, that's a beautiful map, isn't it?
Cave Run's gorgeous. Honestly, to Qubit, who's the author of that, amazing job. The theme just stands out so much as well. And I'll always point out that really cool looking egg at the end, because I've spoken to him and he said he spent way too much time on that egg.
I must have. I've seen it. It's pretty impressive. Yeah, as you say, Qubit, I should have pointed out Egg Putt made by Derv and Specky. And then our 4th place finisher, Boost by Shakosti, Lolagrade, and Koala. We won't be seeing that today, but a very well-deserved 4th place. What do we make of that one, Pooney?
Sharky is a great mapper. He comes from a background with a lot of experience, correct me if I'm wrong here, from Reflex. I think he set himself bar a bit too high on this project, because I know there were some issues with performance people were having. But overall, I think as far as gameplay goes, everything is just on point. That map, I was very concerned about its length at first, thinking, oh man, new players might have trouble even finishing the map to begin with. But it just works. It just works. In race physics, the amount of speed that the map rewards you and doesn't take it away from you all the way until the end of the map is just so satisfying.
Yeah, and I think it needs to be repeated again and again that, 4th place finish here is really good considering the quality of submissions, and the top 3 very special indeed. And we're actually going to watch those 3 maps, those winning maps, played by some of the best racers at the moment. I believe we have a graphic for the winners that I just want to show now, so that everybody can familiarize themselves with the winners. Do we? Do we not? If we don't, it's fine. All right, we're golden. We're going into game. It's going to be Oasis to start things off. We've got a whole lobby of Diabotical racers, and yeah, let's take a look at a really good looking map. 3rd place finisher. Also, great flow to it. It's a map that, as someone who's not great at race, I enjoy a hell of a lot. And we're going to have some really good chaperones as we learn a little bit about Oasis. Wow, we're in Game Boy. It's working. Here we go.
Have you had time yourself to set some good records on these maps?
Good records? Absolutely not. I've played all of them a little bit, but no, nothing good. So here we are on Oasis, and we have a big old lobby filled with some of the best racers going. They have been instructed to do minimal restarts so that we can actually see a full run. They're not grinding for world records or PBs right now, but they're still going to be trying to go plenty fast. So what was it about this map that struck you, Pooney? Why did this one come at such a high placing?
I would say personally, because I personally really respect the amount of attention that went into designing the gameplay for this map. There's been a lot of testing here, and as far as routes go, it was so well executed. So, for example, with race physics, the variety of routes and where they're placed on the map, and just like to come back really quickly, the overall design of the map, it's more of like an adventure, because once you get into the map for the first time, and I got to experience that on other people, like I would put them on the map and gauge their reaction. They start going places and exploring, seeing where this door goes, and then eventually they start figuring out what would ultimately be the best, the quickest route. Excuse me. So that whole aspect of the map really fascinated me. It's almost like a slightly open world adventure in a way.
Yeah, I remember my first time on Oasis, my first couple of minutes here, I actually got lost. I was just sort of struggling, and that was an earlier build of the map where there was a little bit less telegraphing, and you can sort of the art guides you, right? Whereas when it was more blank and a little bit more open, it was hard to say exactly where to go. But it's a really interesting map for that, though. I've never spent such a long time just trying to get used to the basic flow of things. But then when you do know your way around, it's, I would say, a pretty newbie-friendly map. Of course, lots of optimization, but there aren't too many, as far as I'm aware, massive skips that, require huge UPS and whatever else. At least there are some routes that are quite accessible to almost everyone.
Absolutely. And again, I think that's where the execution's so well, because after you learn the whole map, you understand where you're supposed to go, then you start seeing different varieties. And then as you start playing, it's say you're a really new player, you see a route and you're like, damn, this is kind of difficult. But you know it exists, and you know that it's the fastest route. So that pushes a new player to sort of start stepping out of their skill level and actually try and become better to be able to use the good route, say the fast route. Right. So I think if a map is able to teach a player to get better at any mechanic, especially strafing, because I know for some people it's difficult, I think it's amazing.
Yeah, so let's try and sync up. Let's get on the same racer. I'm on board with Cans at the moment, and let's see him try and navigate his way around. Cans is pretty handy, so it should be a lot of fun to watch. And you can see really using the W turn, as I've recently learned is a thing. I've been playing these games for 10 years. I did not know that in air control games you weren't supposed to AD at every corner. Shocking, I know.
I don't blame you. Again, I remember when I first got into it was actually Quake Live is where I started, and that whole concept for me was so difficult to grasp.
Yeah, it's a weird one. Like, my fingers just don't like holding W all on its own. They want to either hold W and A or A on its own. It's bizarre, but it is the way that it is. You can see around about a 24-second sort of. That's a good run, not a perfect run, but that's sort of where they're falling. Now, in terms of map length, how much is that sort of a consideration? Is there such a thing as a map being too short or too long, or is it horses for courses?
You know what? Honestly, from personal experience, it's kind of a weird one, because there is no map that's too short, and well, there are some maps that are too long, but it's made as a joke for that reason. So, but generally speaking, no map's too long. I guess it just mainly depends on its gameplay. So some 10-15 second maps, you'd be surprised, are extremely fun to grind, because again, the whole run itself is so little, you get to have nonstop tries doing it. But opposed to a map that's like, say, over a minute, that's where things start getting a bit iffy. Say if there's an obstacle somewhere halfway down the map, that's just suddenly so difficult. And once you reach that point and you keep failing it, you start getting this idea of like, I don't want to keep grinding this. This is getting a bit annoying. Also, putting a more difficult obstacle at the end of a map, where I believe in most cases, the more difficult obstacle should go in front of the map. That way people can grind it, learn it, teach themselves how to do it, and then carry on the rest of the map. So in most cases, you'll see maps with really laid back endings where the player has time to rest their arm, change mouse position if they have to and stuff like that.
Right. So bring it back to Oasis. I think one of the really interesting things is like the art style is coherent, but you've got these what I would call like very defined areas. So you've got this sort of opening palatial bit, it's quite detailed. We then go into this sort of, it almost looks oversized, these huge buildings and these really large jumps you're doing. And then we come out into sort of the cavern, and we actually see, its namesake, the Oasis, the little bit of water, and then into the spaceship we go. It's an interesting map because I feel like it has a lot of variety in terms of the skills that you require here, in terms of like the types of, there's a lot of long strafing, you've got to do double jumps, you've got to do little curves around the corners. It's quite nice in that way. It's very varied, I feel.
Absolutely. I think it's visuals here play such a strong part of just the overall experience. And don't get me wrong, you could essentially on the race maps, you could strip away all form of aesthetics and detail, just keep the fun gameplay, and it'll still be a great fun map to play. But from an arts stance, I think as a player, you walk away with way more feelings and memories when you play a map that's so well visually crafted, because it takes you on this, like I said, an adventure, right? You're in the castle, then you go out in the canyon and stuff like that. It's just a really, really nice environment to be in general.
Yeah, I like it a lot, and I think that this is certainly one I would suggest that newer players look at. I think, as I say, because it's got sort of a varied skill set requirement, but it's quite accessible in terms of you can finish this one every time without getting stuck, probably, even if you are very new to racing. And then it's all about the efficiency, of course. It's all about the optimization. So there we go. That was Oasis, a very deserving third place finisher. And yeah, a real favorite of mine. I'm glad that we got to see that. But now we have to move our attention to Rouge. Tell me about Rouge, Pooney.
Rouge is a really fascinating map. So first impressions of Rouge, when you get into that environment, you're like, wow, this is going to be fun. Map was super fun to learn. Obviously, it's extremely different from what we just saw on Oasis, because even though this map is relatively linear in terms of your routing, but it still forces you to learn and discover and to try and reach all the areas. Because maybe it's just like a defragger mentality, but the first thing people start looking for is how to cheat, how to find a shortcut, how to reach the rooftops, how to get to the finish line the fastest. And visually, right, this map, you right away see like, oh, can I get on this rooftop? Can I get up there? Can I get up there? But it's very well crafted, surprisingly. Very little amount of shortcuts and such.
Yeah, it's one that sort of invites you to break it, but then, it was always designed in that way anyway. I don't think anything's unintentional here. Yeah. I would say this is really one of those maps, and maybe, I'm talking out of turn here. I'm not an expert by any means, but I feel like this is one where there are beginner routes, there are experienced routes, and then there are like expert routes, right? And there's really sort of a stratified difficulty depending on where you go with it.
Absolutely. The room for improvement here is endless. And I mean, that's an obvious thing to say because that's most maps in a nutshell. But this one's really super nice to the new player, and it's super fun for a really good player.
Yeah, it's I think one of the things you were talking about earlier, the way that if you sort of front load the really technical bits, that's helpful. The first area in this is so complex. There's so many different ways of approaching it. Just because of those little bricks, that's sort of a mini stairway, right? And, you can jump all the way over to the bridge, you can jump on the roof, or you can go round. And then it's all about conserving the momentum in what is actually for me at least, a deceptively tricky bit is I'm currently watching 30, where you have to get to that pillar and then you sort of are committed to either the different balconies from there, right? And it's often case like finding how your speed can help you and what you can reach and what you can't. So there's so much when you're playing this map and getting better at it. There's so many evolutions of what you're doing. It doesn't feel like you're optimizing, like you're strafing nearly as much. That's not what important here. It's about the different routes you can take.
Absolutely, and I like any map that challenges that because with race, it's extremely hard to be consistent. So making every run exactly the same, you will always be slightly either a bit more to the left, to the right, which causes a huge impact. It's like a chain reaction. So when you get about halfway down the map, you're like, oh shoot, I don't have spacing for that little ledge anymore, where you had it the previous round. So this is where consistency is key, and a map that challenges that again it's great.
Yeah, it's one that I like a lot. This is probably, it might be my most played race map actually. So second place. I'd sort of sum up why did it get second? What did it do so well?
Just I guess in general, being a pretty polished map, I think it caters well to both physics. It's a great environment to be in. It has a really good learning curve, fun exploration as well. It teaches a player, like when you walk away from this, I feel like there's a bunch of mechanics you master, like especially the double whatever triple jump you do at the start and have to do like a nice curve to the left on top of the building there. That's a really fun mechanic to grind. Honestly, like when I even started playing this map, for some reason I didn't consider the idea of even doing that, so I just took the long way. And then I was like, oh wait, you can double jump, triple jump inside. So many things, again, like I said, that you walk away from this map and you go, wow, that was fun.
Yeah, absolutely, I concur. And it's always interesting when you sort of have to fight, you know, do I want more room to strafe optimally, or do I want to take the shortcut? And that's a question that you're posed here multiple times. It's not just this one moment where you're like, oh yeah, the shortcut's actually better, even though I end up with fewer UPS.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just such an interesting one to play. It's such an interesting one to watch, actually, like when you're trying to learn it from someone else's perspective. There's a lot of room for creativity here, a lot of room for your own little spin on things and, you know, whatever you excel at.
For sure. And just to add to that really quickly, as you mentioned, it's really fun watching somebody play these maps. Like, for example, I was testing a lot of these with Woody. Which, huge thanks, Woody, by the way, for all your time. And some of the stuff he was able to instantly come up with right off the bat, I was like, oh, I never even thought of doing that. So some things are like a bit almost hidden, maybe not obvious enough, but I think that's where a lot of the challenge is as well, is finding those.
Yeah, and I think, you know, we're going to talk about it all stream long in terms of like what gives a map longevity, what means that it's going to be worth playing a few months from now. Like, obviously, things get optimized and optimized and optimized, and we're increasingly fighting over smaller and smaller time saves. But a map like this is going to last a long time. This isn't going to be perfected for a while.
It's always, honestly, it's always a hard one to say, because when you think that, oh, okay, people have played this map, say, for example, for a month, this group of guys have the highest world record, that's unbeatable. Who knows? Somebody might actually want to challenge that, because knowing race communities, some people get really personal about that stuff, and they'll spend countless nights just doing that one pixel perfect run just to knock off another quarter of a second off somebody else's run just to get the title. A lot of maps offer that. We're yet to see with this one, but I think its life value is going to be quite long.
Yeah, it's very interesting indeed, and I think, I hate to say it, because of course we do have to celebrate the winner in a big way. I think Roosh might have been my favorite, because it's, well, maybe it's just because I'm not very good at weapon maps yet, but I think that this map really has it all. It really does everything a non-weapon map should, and I mean, it's gorgeous as well. And the art, as you said, it's like, can be overlooked in race in particular, because the gameplay is king, but I think they did such a good job with the theming here, such a good job with making everything look nice and consistent, and it's very well polished as well. So yeah.
Absolutely, and I can almost guarantee you when somebody makes a really successful map, as you see the community grow, people start drawing certain elements and theme aspects from it. So I can almost guarantee you that this map is going to be an inspiration to a lot of mappers who are making their first time trial map for the first time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so. It's I mean, it's just really good. And I know it sounds sort of redundant at this point, but there's not much I would criticize about Oasis, and there's not much lacking in it at all. Sorry, not Oasis, Rouge. And just once again, to give a shout out to the winner themselves. Rouge was made by Joshua Dolman. And a huge congratulations to him. You've done a sterling job there.
Absolutely. Keep those maps coming.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, like I was talking about longevity earlier, and this is probably more difficult in race than in, say, duel or team modes, because they're single player, people get to play them a whole lot more at any given time, and so struggling for longevity is a big thing in race. So I think that it's very important that you do have a really healthy incoming flow of maps pretty constantly, right?
For sure. And we all understand how time consuming mapping can be in general. And I always encourage people to put that extra little effort to make them look good. Because as you said, when you're spending, 2-3 more hours on the same map over and over, at least make it look good.
Well, speaking of looking good, we do have our winner here. The number one map in the contest. It is a weapon map, and it's Toxic by Delios Axis. Now, this is quite a map, I'll be honest. I'm not good at it. It frustrates me. It makes me sad about my inability, but it's damn good.
Absolutely. Congratulations to the mapper. This is a very well executed map from pretty much every single angle. As far as our judging criteria go, this pretty much ticked off every single box on the list.
Right. Yeah, it's a map that I've watched. Crazy Al is one of the best race streamers. He has been grinding this one, and the evolution and the sort of granular improvements you make in a weapon map like this is so cool, because he's, a slightly different rocket jump here leads you to a different rocket jump here, and the route, well, it doesn't look that different. Like, there's so much detail to it at this point. They are whittling that time away. It's quite impressive to see how fast people have gotten on this one.
Oh, I know. I'm like having so much fun actually watching these guys play it right now, because you'll notice one thing with rockets, because again, like to note that this is the first rocket map we're really seeing. And it gives so much creativity to players, because you're relying strictly on the rocket jump mechanic, and to see what each player is gonna do is so fascinating. So, for example, again, when I was playing this with Woody, and he's, I think, one of the craziest people with the rocket launcher I've ever seen, to see the kind of stuff he came up with on this map was just honestly mind-blowing to me. So, endless room for improvement.
Yeah, I think that of all the maps in the competition, this is the one that is probably going to have people trying their best to outdo each other on for the longest. Just because, I mean, each room I've seen go through massive evolutions just watching one person stream. It's like, you get more people involved, there's going to be more ideas, and gradually we're going to figure this one out. But it's really well put together that even as a newbie, you can beat it. But, I mean, the delta in sort of this map played well versus it played poorly is so huge. I think my record on it is something like 150. Like a 1 minute 50, and that's pretty terrible. And I believe world record is, I believe it's in the low 40s.
Oh, wow, already.
Yeah, I could be wrong on that, but it's sub-minute for sure. It's very quick indeed.
Wow. Yeah, this you will see this map being competed on for quite a while. It's going to be up there in the leaderboards because competition here is going to get really huge. There's a lot of players coming into this from other games that also have the rocket jump mechanic. I think rocket jump mechanic is simply everyone's favorite. So things are going to get really sweaty here.
They certainly are, aren't they? And I think that's a great thing. I mean, like you were saying, with your judging criteria, there's not really anything Toxic did wrong, is there? It's a great looking map. It's hugely replayable. It's immediately quite accessible, and it educates players because it is one of the first rocket maps, of course. It does a huge amount of heavy lifting in terms of showing people what exactly you can do with this weapon and this mechanic.
100%. It has an excellent progression rate as well. So you're not just going random room to random room being presented with random obstacles. Each obstacle is designed to get progressively hard, but not too hard to the end of the map, as I was talking about it earlier. It doesn't get annoying hard at the end to a point where you're just like, well, I'm stuck. Why does it have to be so hard at the end? It's fine. It works. And like you said, for the new player, most importantly, it does a great job teaching them. I can almost see an instance where somebody is asking their friend for advice on how to become better at rocket jumping, and them just saying, "Go play Toxic." That map is pretty much like it's almost designed like a training course in a way.
Yeah.
And that was probably one of my slight little dilemmas when I was judging with it, because in race physics, I felt like there was a bit too much of slowing down between each room. I find that people who play with rockets a lot, what they like to do is just constantly have the speed carry through, where here, in some cases, it kind of stops you. It kind of, resets your speed and then presents you with the next obstacle. But I didn't want to take that too personal because, again, I saw the whole point of the map. It was there to teach people to get better at rockets, but at the same time give good players just a really fun environment in the playground.
Yeah, it's so good. We just saw a 42-second finish by Leaf Green, by the way. That's really good. That's really good.
He's getting sweaty.
I think he is. I think they're all getting into it. Huge thanks, of course, to all of the racers that have shown up to put on this show for us. The likes of Quasar and Unnamed Eggman and Cans and, of course, Crazy Al. Yeah, one of the things I was going to mention about sort of as this map works as an education in rocket jumping is it's a very practical map in the sense that this is the sort of rocket jumping you might have to do in a duel or in a wipeout game a lot of the time. Whereas, as you were saying, rocket maps in defrag are oftentimes, these mad corridors where you get to 3000 UPS and you just sort of hold it, right? Whereas because this is broken into rooms, this is, and maybe I'm taking this a little bit far, but it's kind of sometimes like a scenario you might encounter in an actual duel or a wipeout, as I said.
100%. Yeah, no, exactly to your point. It helps the player progress through these obstacles that you will, I can guarantee you will encounter at some point during actual, like playing a duel or something. You're going to see a ledge that's all the way up there. You're going to look at your HP. You have a couple rockets to spare, and you're going to be like, can I make that jump? And then you'll remember this map and how you were able to, jump across the room or in whatever room. And you'll be like, hell yeah. Like, it'll give players more confidence, definitely.
Yeah. So a very deserving winner. Once again, I've got to say the name. It is Delios Axis that won this. Did a superb job. Very well deserved. Arguably just
1 minute remaining.
Just such a complete map, such a polished map, and a great concept as well from the beginning. There's, well, I really don't have anything left to say. It's all exemplary.
I'll also say once again, great job. That was very well executed. Keep it up. I'd love to see more maps from you in the future. This is a well-deserved win.
Yeah, this is now probably one of the most played race maps already. It's going to be around for a while, and if you ever are, thinking that you need to improve your rocket jumps, get yourself on Toxic. It's in custom lobbies in the race section, and then you go to the user created bit and you will find it there. And that about wraps it up for the racing segment. Once again, congratulations to Toxic, first place Delios Axis, second place Roosh, Joshua Dolman, Oasis by Ben AFPS, Boost by Sharkosity, Lolagrade Koala, fifth place to Cave Run by Qubit, best theme Cave Run by Qubit, and most creative Egg Putt by Derv and Specky. This has been the racing segment of the mapping contest. Thank you ever so much to Pooney for joining me. Do you have anything you want to say?
Thank you for having me. Thanks to this great community for creating such amazing maps. Again, keep the maps coming, guys. You've all done a phenomenal job.
Absolutely, and yeah, we're so glad to have everybody on board and the community effort behind us. We are going to be taking a small break, and then we will be back with the team mode category. See you in a bit. welcome back to the Diabotical Mapping Contest winners announcement and celebration stream here on TimCon LAN. I'm joined once again by Napalm and FaZe and also Stickflip. We're back, boy. And we're talking about team mode.
We are back.
Right. Team modes, I think, arguably for me, like, it's the most complicated category, the largest map. And we're going to talk about our winners in just a sec. But first of all, I want to talk about that criteria again. What were you looking for here, Nate?
We, like I said, fun factor, right? But
yeah,
we really needed, I think, maps to flesh out a lot of the game modes, especially the casual side of things. And that's really what we're looking for. And I think everybody delivered. It was actually a really hard decision for the team modes. Like, it was brutal. Very close for a lot of maps. I think you'll see when we get into the gameplay that these maps are good. Very good.
Yeah, they and also because, of course, we're talking about multiple modes, they're quite varied naturally. We'll talk a little bit about them after, so let's get right into the winners video. And here we have it, the winners in the team category. It's going to be most creative, freeze tag Starport by Nunustar, best theme, capture the flag, seismic fault by Nunustar. 5th place, TDM Hurricane by Sav. 4th place, freeze tag Nunustar. That's Starport, sorry. 3rd place, we're going to be seeing, no, we won't be seeing a little bit later, Hurt Locker by Flick Switch. And then 2nd place and 1st place, we will be having some show matches on. So let's talk about some of the lower winners. Let's talk first of all about Starport, 4th place finisher and most creative. What was it about this map that did so well?
Oh man, it did a lot of things really well. His creativity in how he used the freeze tag mechanic, voiding yourself to thaw yourself. He has like a 0G airlock that you fall down. It's awesome. Your teammates can push buttons to open up airlock doors for you and you get shot out. It's amazingly fun. It fits the game mode, I think, perfectly. And the theme itself, it's spectacular. You just walk around it. It's really, really good.
Yeah, it's quite a special map. And one that we'll be seeing a lot of course, freeze tag, pretty new, so that's an exciting category. 5th place finisher, Hurricane by Sav, TDM. What was it about this one that did so well?
Go ahead, FaZe.
I think it was one of those maps that felt right at home for Team Deathmatch. The layout itself, there was a lot of bit of gimmickiness when it came to how certain rooms were connected with each other and the silo lines that you had between pincers and a crossbow. But other than that, I think the map probably had one of the better flows overall when it came to movement, and that's why it did so well.
And well, I would usually tell us to talk about the best theme winner, which of course Seismic Fault by Nunustar, but it's also 2nd place finisher, which is why we're about to watch it in action. We've got a whole lobby of very good players, and we're about to see 12 minutes of CTF action. Let's jump right in and make sure all my lobby settings they are wonderful. So once again, this is Seismic Fault by Nunustar CTF map. Obviously, we haven't seen up to this point a lot of CTF and Diabotical. The focus has mainly been on MacGuffin Extinction and Wipeout. What are the unique challenges to making a CTF map?
I think for me is making it so when you spawn, you know which direction you have to go in and where you're going. And sometimes the CTF, if it's not arted well enough or it flows a little off, you will just have people just running all over the place and not knowing what to do. Bases have to be balanced enough so a flag D can defend against 1v2, but yet you still have to be able to break in and get the flag out. So I think those are key factors for anybody that's getting into CTF mapping.
Yeah, it's also one of the oldest game modes going, right? So
right,
being innovative, like we were talking in the pre-show, very, very tricky indeed. But this map, I think, especially the visuals stand out to me. It's a very good map in the way that it plays. It's pretty intuitive to pick up. But
capture.
Visually, that's where this one shines.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, I almost want to say this is like one of the best looking maps, if not the best looking map in Diabotical. Nunustar is a wizard.
I mean, he did the Starport also, and he had a hand in the first winner too. So,
mapping contest, or as we like to call it, Nunustar's money pit.
Yeah,
just
pay Nunustar.
We gave them all the money. So we do have in the server right now a selection of very good players, and then also Yakumo and Death, who are going to be our team captains, because if we put them on the same team, well, we wouldn't have much of a competition, would we?
No, but it's definitely going to be a fun match. One thing to note is on this map, the power-up placement is in the middle, as on most maps it is, but there's a little twist to it. There's plenty of spaces that it can be attacked from, and a lot of the control over the map and how the captures are going to be happening are going to be with the help of the main power-up.
Yeah, so let's watch out. Now, while there is a game in front of us, we're not going to be doing hype esports commentary because that's not what this is about. Instead, we're going to talk a little bit about this map. And I'm wondering, Nate, is this a map that has been through a lot of revisions that you've seen, given feedback on, or did this come almost fully formed to you?
The first time we saw the map, it needed a little bit of artwork just to differentiate the sides a little bit more. And the only thing that I think we changed was a little bit of item placement. And then the teleporters on this, you like fall down in and you sink down in and you teleport up to the top level. Before you used to like open doors, you sit in it, the doors would shut, and then you would go, and it was only accessible from one side. So we only changed basically taking off a door to a teleporter and shifting, I think, shotgun and shaft around. So this map came in already great.
And that's super impressive, right? I mean, it's one thing to toil away and chip at a map and bit by bit make it work. It's something quite entirely different to just come in, pretty much formed. It's super, super impressive stuff. I want to talk about the scaling a little bit, because my natural gut feeling when I first walked around this is it almost looked like one of those, I'm not too sure if you'd have played like Toy Story maps in other shooters where everything's massively oversized, like you're going around a kid's room, but
rat
you're
maps.
only, yeah, like that sort of a thing.
Yeah.
Right? This is a large map now.
I think it looks larger than it actually is. The play space footprint is a little bit smaller, but you have these teleporters that shift levels pretty quick. There's some lift jumps that get you around quicker. And if you ever played Quake Live or Quake 3, there's campers crossgowns, and the center of that is bigger than the center here. So as far as CTF goes, I don't think this is overscaled really, but if you compare it to some of the other maps, it is huge. Like real huge.
Yeah, of course, Diabotical is a faster game than Quake Live as well, so you traverse it a little bit faster.
I think a little bit to that point though is his speed breaks in the lanes. They're really close to the base, so you can get through the middle pretty quick. And then once you're in past those breaks, you can dive into the base, take a teleporter, things like that. So I think he did the flow perfectly for this size of the map.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's talk about what makes a good base. What makes a good base work in CTF?
I think FaZe is better at Flag D than me, even though we both play the same role, so maybe he can speak a little bit better to that.
It really depends, in my opinion. Being a good flag defender doesn't necessarily mean you have all the weapons in the base. You have to be mobile, and I feel like this map actually does that really well, where all the items are placed in positions where, as a defender, you have to move about, and you have to take the risk of when am I going to leave the base, and is there anybody in the base that can defend it while I'm gone picking up the items that will help me defend it. So it really the layout that works on this map supports that kind of play. So as long as you're a good CTF player who has a good second defender, then you should be able to rotate together to get all the items and defend the flag pretty well.
Yeah, it's a difficult thing though, for sure. Like, I don't know, I find whenever I'm thinking about mapping, it's always deceptively complicated. Like, there's just so many different approaches, there's so many ways of doing things. Kind of overwhelming as someone who is an idiot. But Nunu Star certainly not. Is there anything, like, I'm wondering, does Nunu Star sort of have a fingerprint? Like, do you know you're looking at a Nunu Star map right off the bat?
At this point, I think you could tell just because of how amazing it looks. He does have a style, I think. But it shows, and it's amazing. He's probably my favorite mapper right now.
Whoa. High praise coming from a man who, until now, considered himself the only good mapper.
Wow. No, there was like two other.
Okay. One of them Stick Flip? We haven't heard from him. How's it going, Stick?
Hi.
Yo. What do you think of Seismic Fault?
Seismic Fault's a gorgeous map. I think we can all agree on that. That's something everyone agreed on while we were playtesting this during before final judging. Nunu Star really came through with art. This competition, created new themes. This is while it is industrial, it's an underwater base, which is something that we haven't seen before.
Right.
I doubt these people will take the time to look outside the map, but it's insanely detailed, a beautiful underwater world out there.
Yeah.
One of the things for me, whenever I've played CTF, is I've sort of realized, you know what's a good weapon? It's the pincer. Is there something a CTF map has to do to really stop that weapon from being overly dominant?
Oh man, I think it comes down to how open the bases or lanes are, and then you have to adjust accordingly where you're going to put the pincer, or rail in previously games. But here it's in the middle, and if you have a pincer in the base, it's actually really strong. You get these nice sight lines. You can stuff people coming out of the teleporter. And there's a lot of little posts, and you can do little post dances around, and trade. I think where it is right now is perfect. And then if you look at the shaft, which is in the base with the blaster, there's a lot of little posts, right? So it breaks up your shaft lines. So it balances out the shaft in the base, and then you have to have somebody bring you a pincer, or you have to go get it yourself. So I think it really balances out with not only this map, but all the great CTF maps. What you want the map to do, and how you want the attackers to be able to defeat the defender. Because that's the main goal, is actually capping the flags. So you have to kill the flag D at some point.
Right.
It's just how do you want the flow to happen, and how hard do you want it to be?
So currently 1-0 up. Death, Nico, Buckster, and Scoochie. That's right. We're going to talk about the game for a second. It's been going on. I'll be honest. I've been struggling to follow it. CTF is a little bit above my pay grade, but more to the point, we've been talking about other things. As I was saying, like, pincer is pretty strong in CTF in general, and you were saying like the things you have to do to dissuade its use. Is there like a skill set that you think is particularly strong on Unistar? Like, what do you, not on Unistar, sorry, on Seismic Fault? Is there a sort of player that you think would be very successful here?
From what I've seen so far, movement is extremely important. You can lose people low very often if they don't have good movement. I've watched FaZe do it 1,000 times in playtesting. He just leaves people in the dust. They can't keep up. So I think the movement mechanics in Unistar makes it so not only is there a skill gap and something you can push towards with moving around the map, but also if you don't have the greatest movement, you have teleporters. You could take them, go up, so there's enough for everybody here, and I think that's really important.
Yeah, it's just one of those maps that I've played it, I think like 2 or 3 times actually, but it was one that I just got immediately. It was pretty intuitive what I was supposed to do, where I was supposed to go, and I could see, it was very obvious what FaZe, for instance, was doing better than. It was very obvious to see the different routes you could take, and exactly what you should be doing rather than what you might initially think to do.
Right.
And it's a nice map to navigate. Was actually the thing that struck me. It was, and I think this is a lot to do with the scaling. Like, it doesn't feel too claustrophobic in any places. You feel like you have a good degree of freedom of movement. Everything just flows quite nice.
That, and also I'd like to go back to your point when you mentioned that what I was doing. And the thing is, I feel like there's 2 maps in this competition, and that's Seismic Fault, that allow players to constantly explore different ways of playing on the map. And I think that's very important for the gameplay, but also if people want to watch people play, it's not going to get boring. It's always going to be interesting. Everybody has their own way to play, and everybody's going to be figuring different ways to play. There's plenty of routes, there's plenty of ways to defend, there's plenty of ways to attack. So it's just going to constantly grow.
I think a little bit to that, if you've been watching the gameplay a lot of them are going out mid-level and taking the jump across the mid-bridge. I found a lot of times you could take that lift and lift jump up to the pincer ammo, and they can't really interrupt you as much unless they go very top. So there's a lot of routes that even, this is the first time really playing this map, right? And 4 or 5 number of times, you're going to see more routing, and they're going to find more lift jumps, and they're going to, and if you need to hide and rat because they got the power up, you have space here, and it's not just boring. You're not just sitting in a corner the whole time. You're still moving around. I think that's very, very important.
Phase.
Oh my god. What did they say at the start of this? I'm turning off my phone.
Let me definite.
Come
Yeah.
on. Come
There
on.
we go.
Sort yourself. All right. 2 minutes left. One. No, make it two. 2 flags up. Bucks to get to the cap. This is actually quite close. I was kind of surprised. I thought, just putting together a weird squad. Some have seen the map before, some haven't. Surely it's going to end up horribly wrong in some way or another, but I think we're actually going to keep these teams for the TDM as well.
You know what I think
they're doing all right.
I enjoy about this match as well? The players that have been playing this match a couple of times, this map a couple of times already in playtesting are the ones losing it.
Yep. Nah, it's all because Bertrand, man. It's all because of death. Easiest win of his life.
He's carrying.
The man cannot be stopped. He's back on the glass. And he's putting on a show, probably. Haven't seen his POV, but probably.
He is a long-time CTFer, so...
He's a long time everything.
He's old. Not as old as me, but he is... Yeah.
I forget, is there a special tiebreaker in Diabotical CTF, or is this a mode that is the same as it has been in the past?
I think it's just overtime right now.
Just the standard overtime.
Cool. That's good.
Same with when you hold the flags. If both teams are holding the flag and it's past the initial time limit, it will stay in overtime until one of the teams caps.
Good. Because we have a schedule to keep, boys. All right, we can't get stuck in, I mean, it's okay with the duels because we've only got 2 people, but, we can't be sitting here for 20 minutes.
You're the host of the lobby, right?
Yeah, I'm the host of the lobby.
Yeah, you can kick out one of the players. It'll be fine. Definitely slow down.
Yeah.
I don't think you have to worry about overtime right now.
No, it's all looking good for Team Death. It's all looking wonderfully good. He's still going to have a go at another flag run. He's only got 3 seconds left, though. Even with Bertrand's incredible movement, he can't manage it.
You need to do some more toxic.
Yeah, just a bit. All right, that was Seismic Fault by Nunu Star. Superb CTF map. I can't emphasize that enough. It's such an impressive map, and it's one that's going to be played for a while, I think. But we now have to move on to the overall winner of the mapping contest team category. It is Frozen Decay by Armaku and Nunastar. Now, this is a map I think I'm quite familiar with this one, which is rare, considering the fact that I'm a complete poser and know very little of what I'm talking about. But this is a TDM map that I've played a few times. Has been around for a little while in various iterations. And now here it is, completed, fully arted up. Why did this have to be the team category winner?
Oh, I think visually, again, it's a Nunastar art, so it's going to be great. I think all the playtesting we've done on this has refined it, and it just plays really well. It's fun. There's great actual TDM mechanics involved. Movement's good. It just checks all the boxes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, pretty much. That's FaZe, what strikes you about what strikes you about Frozen Decay?
I think the sizing is pretty good, especially that this is going to be 4v4. It just fits perfectly. It fits like a glove. Whatever you move, there's plenty of space to maneuver, but there's also places where you will be stuck with enemies. So it's just like a great balance between open combat and close combat. And I feel like this map suits a lot of playstyles. It doesn't just limit you to one.
And that's so important. It's so important that a map emphasizes, rewards variety. I would say like pincer heavy maps are pretty common because it's very difficult to get that balance right in terms of sightlines. And I would say that's one of the most common mistakes, or like one of the most common complaints someone might have about a map. But as you were saying, with the varied room size, with weapon placement, I wouldn't say there is a dominant style here, and that's a great thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think, speaking to the pincer again on this map, it's between the red and yellow armor, so there's a lot of traffic in there. And since there's not a lot of resources in the actual room, you can't just camp pincer the entire game and hog it all for your team. So I think that was done very well. And everybody likes a triple damage pincer run, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Right. So perfect.
There
You get
go.
the highlights, you know.
And a TDM map, of course, in the competitive scene, we've been playing Extinction, but TDM, very long, very old roots in the genre. I mean, you might say it's dual, but I would argue the real history of arena FPS has been about the history of TDM on the whole. And it's so great to see that mode back, see a map made just for it. I think this is what I would call like one of the most mature maps in terms of it's just so polished. Just everything about it works. And it avoids most of the common sort of pitfalls that a mapper might have.
I agree with that. Yeah, it really does.
How did they do it? Armaku and Nunu Star. So was it Nunu Star just doing the art, or did he also help with the layout?
I think most of the layout was just Armaku. And to go to the layout side of things, when we first saw this map, it looked almost nothing like this. And I think he only sat down with me and FaZe and a couple other mappers and sat down. What was it, like 2-3 weeks, and he came back with something almost exactly like this, like very close. So he took the feedback and he really did a lot with it, and that's really hard to find a lot of times, is people who can, first of all, filter feedback to do what they need, but then also implement it in a way where it greatly improves the map. And Armago did a great job with that.
Yeah, it's pretty cool actually. I didn't know Armaku was even a mapper, and here we are, giving him lots of money and attention and praise. It's a beautiful thing. Yeah. And then Nunu Star on the art. Again, he's sort of dominated the team's category as Nunu Star. In fact, I'm just going to check exactly how many things he won. So he got most creative. He got best theme. He got second place. And fourth place. And shared first place. Nunu Star, the GOAT.
Yes.
He's like the agent of
Maps.
of maps. Just getting all the paychecks.
Yeah. As Diabotical Esports is to agent. Diabotical mapping is to me. But
no doubt.
I think there are a lot of well-arted maps, and I don't mean to put down this one at all. It's a great looking map. But for me, the layout is what's special here. You know, it's really, I have to say, so mature. They're such complex room designs, and yet they work.
Yeah. I think it's really hard to work with these rounded props also. So hats off to Armaku for dealing with all that. He did a really good job. Even with the collision, he didn't want to adjust a lot of Nunu Star's art, which sometimes you have to for collision. But he just made it work. He did it, put a lot of effort into that. We spent a lot of time. I don't know, I love Armaku. He's a great dude.
Yeah. It's, I think everyone's happy to see him win. And,
Yeah, and I think it's his birthday today.
Is it really?
Merry
It
birthday.
might be.
Merry birthday is
Merry
what Nate's
birthday
done for
to
there.
Armaku.
Merry birthday. I'll have to remember for next year I didn't get him anything this year.
Good job on
You
your
got
team.
Yeah. 40 to 39.
Yeah,
Jeez.
felt pretty good.
I did try and make it even, but you know, I sometimes I underestimate my own power. To be fair, FaZe was supposed to be playing instead of Krizza, so it would have been very one-sided then, right, FaZe?
Eh.
Easiest win of his life. Just
Yakumo
stomping.
is tearing it up.
Let's have a look
Can we
at
talk
damage
about
now.
that? Like, what's going on there? He's tearing it
No,
up.
he is.
Old man Yakumo, showing him what's up.
Yeah. Gives you hope, doesn't it, Nate? Gives you hope.
Yeah, it does a little bit.
I mean, hold on. How many seniors do we have in the community? Quite a lot, right?
Yeah.
You could make like a senior club and then have tournaments against each other.
Yeah, no doubt. James is just gonna win those though.
Yeah. Yeah, Kuma might give him, run for the money. By the way, he's playing here.
That's what this community needs. It needs its old veterans just Just having handbag matches, just slapping
Oh
each
my
other.
God.
Half of them probably already lost teeth, so imagine the cons.
Yeah.
Half of them gonna sound like Mike Tyson.
Oh no.
The other half will sound like I don't know, an old man. Couldn't think of a joke there. It's gone
Yeah.
wrong.
Good try though.
I started the sentence, thought, I'll bail myself out by the end. Didn't. Just another disappointment in a long life of them. 54-55. I almost want to commentate this like it's a real match. We haven't had to cast any TDM yet in Diabotical history, which obviously we've been doing Extinction and MacGuffin. I'm wondering, this is a bit controversial, isn't it? Am I biting the hand that feeds it? Why do you think we saw so many entries for CTF and TDM as opposed to the current competitive modes?
Well, Extinction wasn't in, and neither was Wipeout.
Was it not in? All right.
Right. Yeah. So
That shuts me up.
Contest was for. We did get a decent amount of MacGuffin entries, I think, like 4 or 5, maybe 6. But it just came down to a little bit of polish, and I think for me and FaZe, we had a blast on Sav's MacGuffin map, and it just barely did make it in for me. So there was some that they were very close to getting in, but this is where it laid, right?
Yeah. And of course, people want to make what they want to make, and
Yeah. I think being comfortable
it's
with
worked out.
a lot of people haven't really played MacGuffin as much. TDM is a simple concept on paper, but then
The amount of ways that people can fuck it up is insane.
Right.
Yeah. Well, that's why I think this map's amazing, because I look at every room and I'm like, this is ambitious. This is, as I say, it's complicated. The concept of each room is really, really wild, and I don't know. I feel like this map could go wrong very easily, right? It's really so well done. It's so precise in a lot of, the way that it works. Like you say, very ambitious in terms of the clipping as well, using these rounded prop, using there's a lot of stairs on this map, a lot of bits of rubble as well that you can jump up. It's like,
Yep.
It's almost as if Armaku was challenging himself just for the sake of it and just saying, I want to make, I want to make a map that's really difficult to make.
Yeah, I think it's one of those layers that if you actually compare, I'm not sure if Nate might agree with me, but layout-wise, this is probably one of the most complex layouts that any of the maps had, at least in team modes.
Yeah, I would think so. And I don't think we barely changed this map at all once he first submitted it. It was just like the little ledge above power up got smaller, and that was it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not a big change.
No.
No, I mean it was a huge change gameplay-wise, but not a big change when it comes to overall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know how much you guys have ran around on the map, but if you look up, it is amazing. So like a lot of this gameplay, you don't see a lot of the crazy art in the theme of the map, but if you just get in this map, look up, it's amazing.
Fat, mate. Can't do it now because I'm lobby host, but I would otherwise.
Right.
So help me God. 3 minutes left. They're one frag different. Am I a genius?
Yes, I would
Have I
say so.
put together the finest team ever. Well, now it's been ruined by Absol killing him. And Yakima.
Well, you have
for the Pincer.
the hair and the facial hair to be a genius. Borderline lunatic.
Borderline.
Yeah. That's the
Not
best
quite a
place to be, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Genius and insanity are two sides of the same coin.
Also, I have to give it up to the person that made those teams because they are nicely balanced.
Yeah, that's me.
For sure.
Thank you.
Oh, okay, never mind then.
No. Fuck you, Faye. Fuck you. Well, actually, because we have talked about this map a lot, I do want to say, just midstream, because there's still people watching, whereas at the end there might not be. Huge thank you to everybody that's been a part of the stream. All the graphics you're seeing were made by FaZe. We have our production man, Arch Rhythm, in the back, pressing the buttons frantically. Of course, Nate, you've been one of the main judges of the competition, Stick Flip as well, before. A lot of people involved in making this mapping contest work. I think the community should be very grateful for all of the contributions that they've made, because it's been quite a thing. 3 months, as you were saying, it's a long journey to get where we are now.
Yes.
A lot of good's come of it.
And hopefully
Agreed.
more to come.
Obvious. 102 to 89. Crucially, 10 frags ahead is Team Yakima. And that would be kind of a shame that this wasn't a best of 3 because we'd be at 1-1. But it's just a 2-map series. I'm sorry. I thought 25 minutes was a nice amount of time to spend on the team section. All right? You can shout at me if you're angry about that in the Twitch.
It's within 10 for the golden frag, right?
Yes.
Okay, so we're outside of that.
Just about. We're going to have to see death, I think. Going to have to be the danger man and change everything. Buckster is on Vindicator. So maybe they can get it within 10. 30 seconds to do it. Let's see. They're not going to do it, are they?
You might be surprised.
Go, Buckster, go. Go. Oh, you've
yeah.
missed. They've not done it.
No.
Oh, my. That's very disappointing. But also great for the schedule.
Schedule plus, our enjoyment minus.
Yep. You know which one I care about more?
Let's go.
Schedule. All day, every day.
No doubt.
There we have it. That was the teams category of the mapping contest. Huge congratulations once again to Armiku and Nunu Star for that first place finisher. Frozen Decay, second place Seismic Fault, also by Nunu Star, that we saw a little bit earlier. We are going to go on a brief break, and then we'll be back with the dual segment of the mapping competition.
Correct.
See you then. Welcome back. The gauntlet has been laid because it's time to duel. Once again, joined by Napalm 3D, FaZe, and Stick Flip for my favorite mode, and I don't even try and hide it. The duel mapping contest. Was it the most hotly contested with the most submissions, or is that
by
wishful
far.
thinking on my part? There we
No,
go.
it was vicious. Even getting down to the top 10 was crazy.
Hmm.
And then getting down to 5 was even worse.
And we're only going to see 3 today in our show matches. We have Scoochie and Firebot on deck that we'll be getting to in just a moment. FaZe, what are you looking for in a good duel map?
Nothing. I hate duel.
He hates.
No, I don't know. There's a lot of criteria. I think one thing that you have to watch out for is when people play it as dual maps, that the bias doesn't get in the way of making sure that the map is playable by everybody. And so far, we've seen a lot of that happen. A lot of feedback that's been given has been due to the bias, and often made the maps worse than what they were beforehand. So it was really about refining, working together. And if you're wrong, having somebody tell you you're wrong, why you're wrong, and then maybe the other person says that you're wrong, and then you have a discussion. I think it's all about having a productive discussion with each other and making sure that you come to some sort of conclusion, and then you implement the changes or revert back some things that happened before.
Yeah.
Well, there's been a lot of time to make these maps, and as you said, getting it down to 10 was hard. Getting it down to 5 is even harder. Let's run the VT. Let's see our winners. there we have it, the dual winners. That's going to be Amberfall Most Creative by City and C Justin, Best Theme by Rhea for Breeze. But we will be seeing both of those maps in our show match a little bit later. So let's pass our attention to the 5th place finisher. It's Frost Rush by PAV. What was so good about this one?
I think a lot of those rooms are really unique in how he set up like the traps. The art style I think is beautiful. The Japanese snow. If you look outside of the map, you see a lot of good scenery. It checked a lot of boxes. It plays really well. It's fun. There's like sneaky little fire holes. There's a teleporter trap where you can shoot at their feet. There's a lot of neat mechanics throughout the whole map, and it does have a yellow armor, which is I don't even know if that's really standard anymore. A lot of double blues seem to be popping up.
Oh, there's a triple blue map, isn't there?
Yeah, we'll get to that.
We'll get to that. So that's interesting. And then also 4th place, Vicky by Grummix. FaZe, you've played all of them, haven't you? What do you think of
Yeah, I think
Vicky?
Vicky was probably one of the maps that had the most overhaul when it comes to like layout changes. It's been through thick and thin. It had a lot of ups and downs. But the latest version of Vicky has been a huge improvement overall, and it's definitely the best it's ever been, and it can only improve from that point on.
Yeah, it's some maps come pretty much complete. Others, as we say, a lot of work. And either way, you got to take the map on the journey and got to find the potential in it. And speaking of potential, of course, we have our 3 top finishers, being Rhea by Febreze, Amberfall by City and C Justin, and Overgrowth by Specky. Let's jump into Rhea with Firebot and Skooky, as we will have 3 duels coming your way on the 3 most winning maps. It is going to be Rhea first. A lot of spam in the chat, a lot of love for Rhea, and I gotta say I'm a huge fan of this map, and especially the art.
I think it's as I was mentioning before, whether you guys just showed up to the stream or not, a lot of people did opt out in the end to go for a lot more simplistic art style on their maps. One benefit, and I'm not sure if Nick can agree with that, but one benefit to going with simplicity at the very beginning and keeping it simple often helps later on if you want to refine that style and add more art to it. I think adding more art to it than stripping it away is a lot easier, and it definitely helps overall with how the map will look in its final form.
Yeah, I can agree with that completely. Yeah.
This is it's a pretty complicated map. I thought Firebot he's lied to me, or I've lied to myself. Something's happened. Anyway.
Well, okay.
Yeah, we'll be fine. We'll be fine. It's a map with a lot of verticality. There's a lot of jump pads, a lot of tellies. This is the sort of map that I look at and I go, I'm going to take forever to learn this, but the art is quite distinct. So I think it actually may be a little bit easier and a little bit simpler than I'm giving it credit for.
You can see that Firebot quite literally, he hasn't played this map yet. So it's good. It's a good experience to actually see people, as you said, this map looked to you like it was, or when you played, it was quite hard to learn at the very beginning.
Yeah.
I wonder if it's going to be the same for Firebot. It is going to be quite interesting to see him actually explore the map and see how fast he learns.
To be fair, Firebot is quite a bit better than me, and I'm especially bad at learning maps, especially ones with verticality. So, well, I was actually I ran around this map with Febreze because I was telling him all the issues I have with learning maps, and in particular, like I have issues with visibility as well. So I was the little lab rat, just in case it wasn't foolproof. And it turns out it was all right in the end.
Yeah,
that's why it's the 3rd place finisher, and also. I do have to point out, winner of the best theme.
Yeah, I think this theme is really, really good.
It just...
I agree. Yeah, this map, it really stands out from all the other top 5 placements for not really sticking to the Japanese theme, the industrial theme, that the medieval theme, you know, that sort of stuff. Yeah, it uses medieval assets, but it's more of an abstract theme than anything else, and I think that's something that we haven't seen before in this game. It's really good.
And actually, I was just watching from Skooky's POV, shooting past the floating rocks there. It's very interesting, actually, how that blocks line of sight on red. From the other side, in particular.
Yeah, so that was one of the
detail.
things that we spoke a lot about, actually, about the rock. If any of you remember this map from the very beginning, that rock out red was a lot lower than it is right now. And it was causing some gameplay issues where people would be bolting from the very top of the map towards the red, and you would never be able to see the player. So not only by raising it up, it fixed that issue, but now, given how open it is, it's a risky fight to take between both of the players. So if you do have 100 damage rail like Skooky, you probably should go for that pincer rail, trying to get it. But usually you won't see players engage that much with pincers. They will try to run away most likely.
Go on the jump pad there. Jump pads. It doesn't matter which map it is. Always a scary place to be.
No doubt.
Let's talk about mega placement. Of course, we just saw Firebot there. This is risky, right? This is a very dangerous mega.
Yeah, I think the best part of the mega is you can't stand on top of it. You cannot stand on top of the item. You're basically dead if you're just sitting up there. So you have to have a control point in the room. You have to watch for pushes. I think actually the other side of the map, the red armor, is almost the complete opposite. Almost the best spot to be is on that little platform. So there's a big gameplay difference there, which I think is actually a good thing. It's about how you're going to control this red armor. People are going to pincer from up near the grenade launcher, or they're going to rushing at you from the hallways. So I think it does a good job of balancing. This is also one of the only maps that has the implosion weevil, which we just got picked up by Firebot, and you can use that to climb the mega pillar to circle back. So I think that is actually, while being really dangerous, there's accessibility options. So it's a good room, I think, a real good room.
Obviously, Diabotical Duel a little bit different from the games that have come before, so we're all learning a little bit about what makes a good Diabotical Duel map, and I think there's a real level of detail to this map, and I think actually the two other top 3 winners, that for me, what speaks to me is just that level of detail. Like I look at this map and I can see how much I'm missing out on, how much there is to figure out. Not so much in terms of, say, pincer angles or anything like that, but as you were saying, like how you approach that mega is hugely complicated because you can't just stand on it. It's not just a case of posting up in this position. It's a little bit weapon specific. How you approach it is going to be something we're figuring out for a while.
Yeah.
4 to 5, not bad for Firebot considering he hasn't seen the map.
No doubt.
And as you can see right there, the fight that it was literally a 1 second fight. They both saw each other at red, and they're like, nope, and they're just gonna move away from that. It's usually what it looks like on that in that area. You really don't want to be stuck there. It's kind of very similar to Mega. You want to be 100% sure that you can secure the item. If you cannot secure the item, there's so many different places that the enemy can come through, that it's really worth making sure that you have it all figured out before you even go into that room.
5 to 5. Trying to knock us off schedule, but it's all right. We're at the end of the stream, and we just have these 2 players to worry about. I tell you, getting 8 players in the same server, it wasn't easy, but we managed it. The Duelers, as always, logistically, a much simpler affair.
Yeah, we found that in all the trying to do testing for the contest.
It's hard, man. It's hard. People don't like playing new maps, and then they moan that there aren't new maps that are good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think people are coming around now. I like to thank you guys for that. I think a lot.
I think it's good to see more people show up. Maybe not as many as we would hope, but they're coming slowly but surely, and we can only hope that there's going to be more people trying to help out, and that's going to cause less hassle for the mappers and everybody involved.
And as far as like the testing goes, it goes for all the maps. all skill levels matter. So like watching 1700 rated duelers and watching 2400, they each have different issues with the maps. So it's about trying to balance that out. And then you got the people who just are maybe really low rated, the brand new to AFPS. How well does the map play for them? A lot of them like to just shoot with their friends. So how can we do that? So there's a big balancing act. Not only just making the map in general. If you're going to make a map for competitive play only and it's only going to see tournament play, that's a whole different thing than making it for everybody. And I think all these maps in the top, I mean, even the top 10, all of them, they were good for almost all skill brackets.
I think that's also, I'm not sure if this has been mentioned for the race segment. I don't remember thoroughly, but the one thing that was also looked at is whether the race or the time trial maps, can they be completed in both physics that are available? And can new players also complete it? And I think that's hugely important in any game mode, is make sure that both, or well, not both, but all skill groups can have a lot of fun time on the map and learn. Otherwise, it's very what's the word? It's very punishing. Otherwise,
Right. Yeah, I think like a pretty decent rule of thumb, especially if you're trying to introduce some advanced movement techniques, is there always needs to be a less optimal but very easy way of getting anywhere, right? You should never have an item or a weapon that requires very good movement, but really great map design allows very good movement to be a better option, right? So that you can really show off the skill of a player without compromising on accessibility.
I believe that's 100% true. It's the only way you're going to make a map that's going to last the longest too. Accessibility and even like this map, I think is why it's liked so much, is the rotations between the items. They're relatively simple. Most of the complexity comes from how you fight in the rooms, not how you travel between. And I think that's why this was so liked by a majority of the people.
Firebot getting on the warpath with the MG. Good selection.
One thing I haven't really seen that we saw a bit in testing is the shaft blue armor trap. A lot of people will rotate from mega, go down low, try to get that blue, and then when they come up that pad, you just shaft them to death.
Yeah, there's little things that you can explore on this map, and I feel like the middle is quite unexplored. I feel like, at least in my player testing, a lot of the fights were happening over at the mega / bridge area. So wondering what it will turn out to be when people will actually start practicing on this map, because there's so much more to explore that we haven't explored yet, and it's going to be interesting to see the process unveil.
I think it's the only time that I use that middle room, other than getting a pincer, I like to lob grenades down towards that shaft area where they transition from red, and I've got a couple of those, but I think we could see a lot more use of the room. It doesn't seem like much, but I think it'll develop into something nice.
That's kind of interesting though, right? Where it's like, for a map to be really great, you have to acknowledge that you can't even fully judge it, because it's like, you can just see that there's more to learn. But if you could see everything, if it was simple enough that you knew everything already, then it wouldn't be a great map.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's risky, because sometimes what we don't know is actually that a degenerate strategy is very powerful. But it's sort of the risk you take. This has been Raya. Firebot going to be on Golden Frag pretty soon. We'll be moving our attention to our next map. Once again, this is Rare by Febreze. Congratulations to them for the 3rd place finish. And also best theme. Do love the way this map looks. It's also a general rule of thumb, if you're a mapper, try not to have an overly dominant color to the point that somebody has to change their models. My favorite map of all time is Toxicity, and I use green models, and that's bad. But Febreze, like when he was asking me to walk around here, it was, you think you could use any enemy color? And it's like, yeah, pretty much. Actually, really important.
I think going with the orangey more instead of like a red, or it helped a lot too because nobody really uses orange enemy models or anything like that. So
Right.
it helps them with the gray. It's nice. He did a good job.
Well, moving on, it's Amberfall by City and C. Justin. This is a map that I haven't seen a whole lot of, but I believe there was a little tournament on the new maps just the other day. And this is a great looking map. It's got a lot of interesting ideas. I don't know. I think this is probably the most out there map. Maybe I'm wrong, but this is the one that for me is like the weirdest. And
Why?
I just feel like every room's quite complicated. That's what's weird about it to me. And like even though we're watching Firebot, that little plasma jump there, a lot of little detail. That to me, makes this such an interesting.
Yeah, that's why I won best most creative, right?
Right.
Because it is it's really hard to get past the creativity of the map, but it is also. He just asked if there's a red, but this is also a city map, so you know that it's going to have a lot of depth, and it's playtesting in the month that we had for this map is not enough to tell you how deep the map is. This is going to take 6 to 8 months before you know how deep a city map is going to get. And then you're still probably going to be figuring out new starts or something, you know?
2, 1.
Yeah.
Fight.
3 blues, as you were saying. That's, you know, maybe going to become somewhat standard a little bit. Like reds, as you would say. No, yellows, you were saying, aren't that standard anymore. Which is such an interesting development, of course. Well, one of the quirks of Diabotical Duel, as opposed to what came before, is the armor system.
Yeah, it's important to start exploring different aspects of the game, especially depending on how the maps are laid out and what problem solving there is available. I think having 3 blues on this map specifically helps out a lot with the player that is out of control. But it really is down to the positioning of each item, and you have to be extremely wary of the fact that the player that controls the mega can also easily control blues, but that also becomes a trap for the player out of control.
Firebot with quite a trap there, coming from the sky.
Hit him with the Batman.
Yeah.
And this was one of those maps where I've mentioned previously when we were watching the show match on the CTF, Seismic Fault. This is the second map that has, at least at the moment, endless possibilities to play it. There's so many different ways that this map can be played and explored. I think that's what keeps any map fresh in any game, is that you can play it many different ways and you don't have to limit yourself to a very specific playstyle.
Yeah, I think sort of the proof in that pudding is that we're just looking at this map and we don't know what you should necessarily be doing. Like, it's all questions and no answers as of right now. And that's what, you know, a great map is about. It's about exploring. It's about figuring it out. It's about the puzzle. And this map is certainly a puzzle. It sort of hurts my brain a bit, but that's okay. Let's talk about the pincer in the water. It's the elephant in the room, after all.
I knew it was coming.
Yeah, there's a pincer. It's in water. Talk to me.
I think it's interesting. I like that he didn't do the tornado route and put the teleporter in the water and all that stuff. You actually take a big risk getting in that water.
Now we need his Quake World style discharge, and then we'll have a real game on our hands.
But hey, rightfully so. I think a lot of people, when they see water and they see a weapon in the water, they will usually try to opt out for Shaft, because it's probably one of the easiest weapons to hit while somebody's in the water. But in fact, Blaster is the weapon that you want to be using in the water, because
Best
not
weapon in the
only
game.
you can what essentially what the water allows you to do is you can actually fight the player on long range with a blaster. Their moving speed in the water is so slow that you will most likely hit pretty much everything. Not only you not closing the distance with the player, but you're also dealing so much damage that the likelihood of them dying is 80 to 90%.
Right. Yeah, it's a feature, and it's very distinct. I think art-wise, this might be my favorite duel map of the winners. I just,
Yeah.
and it's weird, right? Because as much as I think it was more, of one of the sort of prescribed themes in that it uses a lot of the Japanese assets, but it has a unique look of its own as well. Obviously, it's got these sort of almost steampunk elements to it. It's got the chains with the hanging blocks. There's a lot that's visually novel about this map.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird because like other people might have done this, but I know Justin is super passionate about like the art, clearly, as you can see from this map. But he's so passionate that he made his own models of like what he wanted to do for the art in this map. He posted them in, I believe, the off-topic channel in the mapping Discord. But they were just so intricately detailed. You could tell just from the pictures of the model alone just how passionate he was about this theme. It's great.
Yeah. I think also, speaking of the passion, City like meticulously planned this map out in every way. The amount of paragraphs he wrote just about the starting spawns, he put so much time in this map, and he really narrowed a lot of things down to exactly how he wanted it to play. He really is a legend.
And I think what it boils down to, like the big takeaway, is watching this map. I just get the feeling I'm going to be watching this one for a while. This is going to be sticking around for years potentially, and that's I think the highest praise you can give a dual map.
Yeah. I've played all of City's maps. I think this one is my favorite.
Well, that's also pretty high praise.
Yeah.
Considering, I mean, one of the most storied mappers in Arena FPS history at this point, right? It's got to be up there.
And not even in just Quake, right? He's just done all the games.
Yeah.
Everything AFPS.
It's especially crazy for how young he is, mid-20s.
Yeah.
That's depressing. I'm almost in my mid-20s. I've not made a single map in my life. Shocking.
I mean, I didn't start till I was 38.
You're 30. You're older than 38. Jeez Christ. No, you all right, mate?
Yeah, I'm good. Kind of.
You look
What
after
kind of
yourself.
fucking question is that?
You look after yourself, all right? Things get rough around your age.
GMT, when I first started mapping for Diabotical, I had just went
Yeah.
through piriformis syndrome and I couldn't walk. I spent a month
Shit.
literally on my couch mapping. I made Oxide, Skybreak, and Monolith in that time.
That was productive.
And Oxide
Yeah,
was
I
done
would-
in 6 hours as well. Something like that.
Yeah.
It's insane.
I mean, I went through a lot of changes after I did it, but
Yeah.
Oh boy, did it.
that deep dive was an hour and a half long for a reason.
Skooky can't quite take Firebot down. He wants to go to bed. Of course, in Diabotical Duel. The game is as short as you want it to be.
I think Firebolt realized the strength of controlling the map from the mega position and going for all 3 blues and rotating them correctly. And it's the fact that once you just set up the correct rotation on this map, as a player that is on the back foot, which is Skooky at this point, you have to be extremely aware of the item timings and which item you are going to be the most successful at securing and ambushing, and that's how you get back into this map, which is extremely hard. But if you know how to do it, it's gonna pay off really well, because usually the player that is that is in control will be hugely punished at some point. It's not one of those maps where you can be in control for the entirety of it. You just have to find out that specific way to play it when it comes to out of control, and you can easily take the control back.
I think a lot of that's just the armor stack, right? You can only go so high.
Mhm.
Then it comes about shard management and rotating that 50 health, which it looks like they've been actually utilizing this 50 health really quickly. They got right in it, so that's good.
I think have they used the ramp jumps at all by the 50, or have they not used them yet?
Pincer blue or the one going up from 50
Going
to
up.
the... No, I haven't seen them use that yet. I don't know if I noticed, but
Yeah, there's a lot of little jumps that if you guys go on the map in your browser, if you go on the map, there's plenty of little jumps that you can do to get from point A to B, where usually you would have to take the teleport or a jump pad. So then again, this shows how much depth this map has overall. That's yet to be explored by the players.
There's a little ramp jump that's right near Mega, in between the 50 and the Mega, and not a lot of people know about it.
Yeah.
So I don't know if maybe that could be highlighted a little bit better, but that alone gives you a lot of good position and quick rotation to the top of the map. There's just like so many little things you find. The more you play, the more you find, and this is what gives it longevity. I think we'll see this for a long time, like GMT said.
We might be seeing this map a long time just in this match. It's golden frag, but Firebot's looking low. And Scoochie, is this the comeback of the century? Almost certainly not. But we'll see. We will see. I certainly won't complain about more time watching this lovely map play out. So, the 3 blue concept. Do you think this might become common? Or is this always going to be a fairly niche map design?
I think because the 3 blues allows you to just Pac-Man everything.
Yep.
It has to be done right, or it's gonna be too hard to get back into control. Every item on this map is some sort of trap, and I think that's what balances out the most. And his meticulous shard placement, it really does help. I don't know how this won't ever become standard. I don't think it's just too complicated, I think, for most people to understand the nuance of all of it. I'm sure more people will try.
Yeah, people can try, but it's always the issue with the layout of the map.
Yeah.
Even though you do want to try the concept, the layout may not be forgiving enough to do that. And City and Justin did an amazing job on not only combining the layout of the map, but also adding those 3 blues and making it work all together.
Yeah.
Ooh. Firebot perhaps with an opportunity here. They're both finding their way around quite nicely now. Good. Maybe we should have got players that played the maps a lot, but look. Who did the booking on the players? Nobody knows. Nobody knows.
No, not at all.
It was our producer, Artrhythm. Banished from the scene from henceforth.
Oh.
Oh. Skooky. Oh, he's done it. The legend. 39 HP in a dream. Only 1 blew up on the map. Nothing else for 20 seconds. Good luck.
Shall we pause the game until Firebot the timings and how low Skooky is?
Here we go. He's
Gotta be
pushing.
on schedule.
Yeah, there we go.
We're
There we
back
go.
on schedule, boys. You love to see it. You just love to see it.
Yeah.
That was Amberfall by City and C. Justin. Congratulations on 2nd place as well as most creative. That is a hell of a.
What?
Speaking of a hell of a map, we're now getting into the 1st place finisher. It is Overgrowth as made by Specky. Give me an overview, Nate.
From the second we saw this map and all the playtesting, this is the one that most people wanted to play over and over again. Specky, I think, did a great job of just diving in, learning the mapping. We almost couldn't get rid of him. He was there every day. He was like bed bugs, but like the nicest kind. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's got a really trappy red, pincer, mega, yellow armor. It was like a 2.5 pathways to get in and out. I don't know. I don't know if that's been shown at all, but there's like a little waterfall pipe thing. It actually gets used quite a bit. Yeah, I think the shaft traps and the spacing in here, and there is a decent amount of movement. I think this maybe not as complicated movement and getting around the map as say like Amberfall, but there is some here. You could find like there's a jump from blue armor to red. You can actually make the whole jump. It's really dangerous, but you can do it. Then you got the pillars and mega, which are punishing if you fail.
Game starts in
don't know,
Very
it's just really
interesting
fun.
pincer position
Yeah.
as well.
Just really-
Uh,
It has what some would consider a quote unquote cross map teleporter because it leaves one room and goes to the other, but they're so close, and nobody's ever really been confused from the playtesting we did.
Mhm.
It's pretty dangerous too if you just take that blindly and not know.
Yeah. So I'm not overly familiar with Specky. As you say, I saw him in the mapping Discord, like as often as I saw you in Stick, basically, right?
Yeah.
Is he new to mapping, or am I just now getting to hear of him?
I don't know how much mapping he's done before. He was worried about his layouts when he first started, and then this was his first dual map. So
Unreal.
I don't think he has anything to worry about in layout department. But I honestly don't know how much mapping he's actually done before this. I think he's relatively new. I know he's in more of the art side of things. I think he actually like does it for profession, teaches. But this, I don't know. He says he got lucky, but I think he is just good. We'll see what his next map looks like, though, right?
Yeah, I think that's just my own thoughts, and I'm not saying that's what happened, but I think Specky, given what he does, I think he might have studied maps in general, dual maps in many games, and made sure that when he went into creating a layout in this game, he had all the at least correct information that he could have exported or extracted out of the other maps. And as you can see, and you know, it's not just the judges; it's the community feedback was extremely high on this map, and people love playing it.
I mean, this looks like a very fast map to me. Am I right in saying that?
Yeah.
It can be very fast. I've seen some crawlers sometimes, depending on how well each other hits and how well you know the traps. The more you play it, it's easier to avoid getting trapped, right?
Right.
Because this is so trap heavy and shaft based, it can snowball if the other player doesn't quite know.
Yeah, I think for me, what often defines a fast map, like you would think it's the speed, right? But it's actually how much access you have to information on where your opponent is. And this just strikes me as a map where you're very rarely going to be surprised. You know where they are, you know what to do, and then you meet each other.
That, but also, this Cookie is not doing himself any favor. He's just running head on at the firebot at every occasion he can. He's not taking his time to play it, slightly slower. And I think that's why there might be some impression that this is actually really fast. I mean, it's 9-1 and we're only 3 minutes in.
Cast is cast, 9-2.
9-2, but you gotta remember that, you know, a lot of those frags happened because Cookie decided to just go into the same room where Firebolt was and just try to, you know, do head-on fights with him for no reason. As soon as he starts slowing it down or moving around the map slightly slower, you're gonna see the change in the pace. So you can really play it slow because there's a lot of places that you can hide. There's a lot of places you can sneak, but you can play it super fast.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
The blaster rotation with the shards, a lot of times you can just escape. So you have to play a little more ratty when you're out of control and set more traps. You definitely cannot stand on top of red armor. You are dead.
You're dead, most likely. Especially if you have. I think many people will start paying attention to the Weebles a lot more. You definitely want to get a slow Weeble on this map. Slow Weeble is gonna be the make or break item in many situations.
Even the smoke Weeble, I think, has its uses. You block off the bubbles hallway elbow so you can get on top of Mega, like things like that. I think the map was designed with Weebles in mind, which a lot of the other maps put them in as an afterthought. So I think that's really good too. One of the main things I note about this map is the shaft room. At first glance, it seems like it's decent for shaft until you realize that if you're in there and you have your shaft out and somebody's in there with a rocket launcher, you're dead. You're stuck in the pipes, you know, you're getting stuffed around. And I think that's good. Weapons shouldn't be in the room where they're the best. You should have to risk and move.
And they're moving a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. it's a really good sign. I mean, I think especially because this is actually quite an entertaining little duel we have, in spite of the players knowing so little. Just the geometry lends itself to interesting engagement.
I think this is nice too, because you see like the pro level actually learn, like the process of them learning the map. You can see what they're doing. Yeah, you just discover the windows at Mega. Yeah, like that's what makes it good. Out of control, you can pinch it through that and punish their Mega. Yeah, there's a lot of little nuance to it.
But I think it goes back to, I remember James did a stream a long time ago where he was sort of talking about how you go about creating Arena 1v1 map. And it was like, you have to come up with an interesting combat concept, right? And I feel like this map's a masterclass in that. Each room is this interesting little place to fight as much as it is, you know, a place where items are.
Yeah. I think even the yellow armor is deceptive in that. It looks like it's just a flat elbow or, you know, macaroni noodle. But once you get in there and you start messing with that little hole down below, which you can shoot pincers and rockets through, that happens all the time. There's more depth to it than it seems.
100%.
Sometimes I think the grenade launcher is underutilized on the map when I see a lot of people play it. He's got a lot of 45-degree angles, which lend himself to grenade play.
Yeah, I mean, grenade play is often something that gets figured out later on, though, right? Because it's like you need to know when you're safe to hold that weapon out, and you're going to be more cautious the newer you are to a map. How did Skooky hit that? He was not on his screen. The Wild Child. See if we get a hundo pincer. We'll want it. For the fans. Do it! Come on, Skooky. Please. Come on. I'm very invested on this hundo, boys. That's all I want. No! Fuck!
You jinxed it. You just got to do the opposite of what you want.
I don't appreciate being a caster sometimes, because the curse, it is simply too powerful. It's depressing.
Experienced it firsthand.
Welcome to my world.
The game is slowed down much now, right? Look how slow it's become. They're starting to learn the traps. They're learning the angles. Yeah. There we go.
And now he will try. Good slow Weeble usage there, but Skooky does actually manage to back away. Hits the pincer on exit as well. Very high scoring game, but a very close one now. What was Firebot up, like 9-1 up?
He was 9-1, and it's one of those maps where you all realize going plus forward can be very punishing. And you have to really slow it down and make sure that you take caution on every single step that you make. There's so many traps on this map. As soon as people figure it out, they'll be abusing it left and right.
Golden frag for Firebot. This could well be the last frag of the evening. Once again, this is Specky's map, and it is called Overgrowth. Go play it. It's in the community map section. As with all the maps that we've showcased tonight, you can play them yourselves, as well as other contest entrants that maybe didn't quite make the top 5 or win either the most creative or best theming category. Still, it's got to be said, a lot of really good maps in there, even the ones we haven't looked at.
I think to expand on that a little bit, MT, is there's maps that didn't even make it in the top 10 that I think are still great.
Yeah.
And so I encourage everybody to go to the content server, check out all the maps.
It wouldn't be a Firebot game, though, if it ended quickly. 'Cause this man, he hates risk. Like someone who only, you know, invests in premium bomb. Just no risk.
He's hunting, though.
Yeah. But look, the first sight of danger, Firebot is out of there. He spooks easily. Here's the engagement. Slow Weeble off the mark. Shaft out. Rockets coming out from Skooky. Doesn't make the jump to the Mega Pincer to finish. And there we have it. Firebot with a 3-0, I believe. I wasn't quite expecting that. But that is the end of the show matches. And that means that we're near the end of our stream. This has been the Diabotical Mapping Contest winners announcement and celebration. We got a long list of thank yous to say now. First of all, to the men next to me, Napalm, FaZe, Stickflip, Pooney, great judges and great commentators today. Hope you had fun.
I did, always.
It was a lot of fun, and sharing the maps with the community, showing them what this community is capable of is always the priority. I think one of the better communities out there, and you know, just help each other out, push each other to the limits, and we can all get better at everything.
And of course, a huge thanks to all of the mappers, and congratulations to those that got their top placings. Your contributions are very, very much appreciated. Thank you, of course, to the Good Studio for putting the mapping contest on, putting up the $30,000 that made this quite so intriguing. Thanks again to FaZe, not for being a panelist or a judge, but actually for all these lovely stream graphics you're seeing. Arch Rhythm for pushing the buttons, and everybody else involved in the mapping contest. That is going to do it for tonight. Thank you for watching. We can hold on for like 2 minutes, Adam. I'm going to just call you out on broadcast.
Yeah.
Production in my ear. Okay. That is our show. We are going to be leaving now. Thanks again for watching, and we will see you very soon. There's mapping contests in the future even. It's going to be wild.